How to lift weights for Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Watch this.
Our next caller is Justin from California.
Hey, what's up, man? How can we help you?
Hey, how's it going, guys? Thank you for having me on your show. This is truly an honor, and it's awesome. Thank you.
You got it.
Sweet.
So I got a question. I remember, many moons ago, Sal, you talk about Jiu-Jitsu, and I believe if I remember correctly, I was purple belt.
Yeah, that's the one.
Thanks for bringing that up.
You got it.
It's been too long.
Well, I'm on my journey again. I trained 25 years ago or so, and I'm back on the journey. So I wanted to ask you guys some questions and see, I know some of the answers possibly, and I've watched some videos, but see what you guys have to say. I think this could help out a lot of people.
Okay.
Let's hear it.
So my first question is what would be some strength and conditioning, resistance training exercises for Jiu-Jitsu?
Yeah. Justin, when you trained before, how long did you train for? And then how long have you been doing Jiu-Jitsu again now?
So before it was about a year, and right now I just started. So it's just a couple months.
Okay. So you just got back into it. By the way, where do you, if you don't mind me asking, where do you train? Cause you said you're from
Santa Cruz.
Yeah. So what school do you go to?
Claudio Franza.
Oh shit. That's where I trained. San Jose. I trained at the San Jose location. Yeah. It's great place. They host a great tournament every year as well. So, okay. So here's the deal. The conditioning you're going to get for jiu-jitsu, the best conditioning you're going to get is going to be from doing more jiu-jitsu. Okay. Strength training. If when people try to lift weights to improve sport specific conditioning, it's not as good as practicing the sport itself. And you know this, right? You're getting back into jiu-jitsu. It's like you got to do more jiu-jitsu to get the stamina.
It's a very high skill sport.
Now, as far as strength training is concerned, general strength training exercises are going to have the most carryover for you right now. So what does that look like? Deadlift, a squat, a lunge, an overhead press.
MAPS anabolic.
Yeah, a row, maybe some rotation will be good. Now, as your conditioning continues to improve with jiu-jitsu, as you start to get into the more advanced levels, then what you can do is you can modify some of your lifts. Like I would do pull-ups, but rather than holding onto the bar, I would take my gi and I'd wrap it around the bar and I would hold the sleeves and do pull-ups, for example. Or I'd do rows with sleeve attachments, or I'd put a towel around dumbbells just to kind of mimic grabbing the gi whenever I would do those exercises. The most carryover that I ever saw from any exercise in jiu-jitsu was, I would say, deadlifts gave me a tremendous amount of carryover when I was doing any kind of stand-up, kind of takedown type of stuff. And then my core strength had tremendous value when I was on the ground, especially when I was on the bottom playing the guard or half guard. Just a really strong core made a big difference. But I wouldn't overemphasize beyond the general strength training, any more than the jiu-jitsu itself. Like how many days a week are you going right now?
So I'm pushing 3 to 4 days a week.
Oh, that's especially after just 2 months. That's a lot. How do you feel? You real sore?
I'm pretty sore, but I focus on sleep and nutrition. I mean, it's literally around the clock, just stretching, which kind of like leads into my second question, but it's just stretching, mobility, just food, like sleep. I mean, it's literally like a full-time job.
Yeah.
Just
So
to stay condition.
And were you lifting weights before you started back into jiu-jitsu?
Yeah, I've always lifted weights and done a lot of calisthenics and just tried to stay fit in general.
Okay. The most I would do with strength training right now is 1 day a week, the most. Because you're already pushing it. Because I know how grueling it could be and how it beats up the body. So I would do like 4 lifts 1 day a week. I wouldn't train them to failure and just focus on kind of, building overall strength. I would keep the reps around 6 to 8 and just build overall strength. I would do like like I said, 4 kind of gross motor movements for now. When your fitness gets to the point where 4 days a week of jiu-jitsu feels like no big deal, then you could get more specific, but that's going to take a little while.
How do you feel about this, dude? I totally agree with that, but like adding in like a real emphasized focus on our Prime program in terms of like being able to access certain ranges of motion again with strength and getting to the point too where his body will react and will respond a little bit more appropriately. I mean, obviously you're going to be doing that with the skill training with jujitsu itself. But in order to then figure out kind of a routine that preps all those main things that you feel in terms of like soreness or in terms of like stiffness, a restriction.
No, I think that's good advice.
Yeah.
I mean, his next question is asking about focusing on mobility, and he's referencing probably some of the mobility videos
Yeah.
of that. I think that's the only thing I would add to Sal's advice is like going into your jiu-jitsu is having like a little mobility flow.
Yeah. Some ritual.
Yeah. And it could be whatever you want. Like if you take, like, let's say you go through our Prime Pro webinar that we have where I kind of take you through all the way from head to toe, some of my favorite, and it doesn't have to be that, or you take from, and we'll send you over Prime Pro program that Justin's referencing. Yeah. I would pick, I don't know, three of the movements that make, like a handcuff rotation, maybe some sort of a 90-90 movement or something, 3 or 4 mobility movements, and turn it into like a flow of like
full shoulder, full hip, full ankle. Like those 3 would kind of,
and that becomes like your ritual to getting started, to getting into, your rolling and stuff.
Yeah. And I'm trying to look it up because I can't remember the name of, so there's jujitsu, mobility specific, or mobility that are jiu-jitsu specific, that are going to be really good for you, that the average person, they wouldn't get tons of benefit out of necessarily, but you would. Okay. So like one of them would be like the berimbolo type movements where you could practice that on your own. Do you know what that is?
I do not. I've heard of it, but I don't.
Yeah. So you ever see the jiu-jitsu guys, they'll be on their back and they'll walk their feet around and kind of roll over their head, and their toes are touching and they're kind of rolling around in that way. So it's a lot of like neck and back mobility and movement. So like something like that. There's a good hip mobility drill you could do on the floor where you're mimicking being in the open guard, but you kind of like egg beater your legs where you're opening them up. You probably do this in your warm up. Like that would be really good. There's good wrestling mobility movements you could do where you're practicing bridging and stuff like that. That's going to give you a lot of carryover for jiu-jitsu in particular. Like that type of mobility is required for you to perform really well with jiu-jitsu. And then one more thing, when you're training 3 or 4 days a week, modify the intensity of when you roll as well. So if you're feeling like sore and tired and stiff, tell your partner you just want to flow, or just work off your back the whole time. Let people pass your guard. Maybe just practice, trying to recover the guard the whole time. Don't worry about tapping out a million times. That took me a long time to figure out. One of my instructors said, why are you trying, stop pushing yourself so hard all the time. Why don't you practice flowing? And then I got better, because for me, at least, one of my weaknesses was, that I could use my strength and get away with not having the best technique. Once I loosened up a little bit, my technique had to get a lot sharper, and my body didn't get so beat up. So just something else to focus on.
Yeah, I think that what I like about, I was at a previous dojo the last month, and so what I like about Franza is that they do a warm up at the beginning.
Yeah.
So then I don't have to come up with a warm up like before I get to the dojo or do it there. So they already have it like programmed in, and that's really helpful. And I do have Prime Pro, and I was actually incorporating at the previous dojo was the handcuff to rotation, the video that you did, which is like amazing, the mobility video. And Prime Pro is awesome, and so is Prime actually for my shoulders, because it keeps it simple for me. And so I was trying to like put all that together at the beginning.
Little side note, you're in Santa Cruz. Do you surf?
I do not know.
Okay. Here's the reason why I asked that is, you might know this because you're in the jiu-jitsu world. The jiu-jitsu guys, especially from Brazil, I never surfed, so I have no idea if this is legit or not, but they swore that surfing had tremendous carryover to jiu-jitsu. Like all the Brazilians just raved about this. You might be able to even ask your instructor if this is a legit thing, but just a little side note.
It's got to be the core and the shoulder mobility and strength that's required.
And just getting up on the board, balancing, like the type of stamina. They would rave about it, just say, it's the best, like the carryover was amazing. But I don't know if it's because it originated in Brazil and they do lots of surfing there, and they're just, I don't know. I never tried it myself, but just something else to if you want to have fun while you work out, that might be something to look into.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. I'm really learning the importance of shoulder mobility, and like the third question was kind of like, explosiveness, but also tied into, just the mobility of like thoracic spine and the lower back and how important that is. And it's definitely no joke. That's for sure.
Yeah. The general strength gains you're going to get are going to give you the best explosive carryover. Later on, you could do more specific explosive type training. And then if you transfer and do like no gi rolling, that'll teach you how to really be more explosive because, the gi slows you down quite a bit.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, Justin. Thanks for calling in,
Awesome.
man. Good
Thank
luck.
you guys.
Yeah, man.
You got it, man. That's cool. You trained at the same place, eh?
That is cool.
I'm sure nobody remember. It was so long ago. But good.
They might have a big picture of you in there.
Nobody cares.
Everybody brings candles underneath it.
Nobody cares, bro. So what sucks is the guys that I used to train with, like that were my level. They're all like black belts,
Yeah,
like
they kept
badasses
going.
now.
They kept going.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, you trained with some badasses for
Yeah,
sure.
it's pretty cool. But no, this is a good question because when you get to like a super high level, then your outside training becomes a little bit more like specific and whatever. But for most people getting more fit for their sport, the best thing to do is play more or do more of the sport. Nothing's going to really give you
I
more.
love you, especially, like working on the skills and using that as a way to condition because it's like you get both of those benefits to that. So
Totally.